Welcome to the Loud Nerd in the Basement podcast, a spin-off of the Substack Loud Nerd in the Basement, your home for authentic news and reviews on nerdy movies and TV shows. Now, time for the Friday News Roundup. Well, welcome back to another Friday News Roundup here on the Loud Nerd in the Basement podcast. As always, I'm your host, Adam Zolnai. Thank you so much for listening, however you may be listening. As always, this podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Substack, and YouTube. And as always, check out that YouTube channel because I'm still posting about 3 shorts a week, so those have been fun and people seem to enjoy them. So jump on there and subscribe. That way you can stay up to date on those and again, just interact a little bit more than you could in real time here on the podcast. But if you do want to interact with me on the podcast, there's a way to do that. I offer a paid tier subscription to my Substack, and with that, you are helping support my work and giving me the ability to have more ways of doing things here, more movies that I can go see and review for that, and be able to buy eventually better equipment for this. And if you want to help support that, one, thank you so much to the people who have. And two, if you want to be able to do that, the only thing you got to do is go right to Substack, click upgrade subscription on the subscription button, and it'll walk you through the steps. Now, with this paid tier, you get extra perks. You get to send questions that I answer here on the podcast. So that's a lot of people like to do that. It's a lot of fun. You get access to spoiler articles on all major movies. I just did one for Supergirl a couple weeks ago, and I'm obviously going to be doing one for Spider-Man when that comes out. So you'll be able to hear all my spoiler thoughts on those big movies. You know, we have other big movies coming out this year like Avengers Doomsday, Dune Part 3. So if you want to hear my full thoughts on it and not just what I say in the spoiler-free review, that's a good reason to upgrade. Also, I do monthly rewind reviews where I go back and look at older movies that have already come out, and I do a review and analysis of those and maybe even dig into a little bit of the background on those. I just released one this week for the film Mystery Men from 1999. Had never seen it before, so this was a first viewing experience for me, and I enjoyed it. It's definitely got its flaws, and it's very of that time period, but it also has a charm from that time period that we don't see a lot in superhero movies anymore. So I enjoyed that, but if you want to be able to suggest a movie that I go review, that's another perk of being able to being a part of the paid tier. So please upgrade if you want. Thank you so much, no matter what, for your support, whether it's listening, upgrading your subscription, or a free subscription. All you guys are so awesome. I am so grateful that I get to do this. But we got a lot of news this week, so let's head on into it. First up, we got a new trailer for Dune Part 3. This one shows off a lot more action, a lot more special effects. We get to see a little bit more of the plot, and man, I'm so excited for this one. Obviously, if you don't remember, at the end of Dune Part 2, Paul accepts the role of the Lisa Al Galib and starts his holy war across the entire galaxy, pretty much taking over the entire empire in the Dune universe, becoming emperor himself. Chani, which this is a departure from the books if you've never read the books. In the movie, Chani, the Zendaya's character, the girl he falls in love with on Arrakis, leaves him and basically seems to be disgusted with his choice because throughout the movie she's like, "Hey, don't don't become what the prophets have said that you should become, which is a tyrant, basically, a genocidal maniac." And for the longest time, it's like, "No, I won't do that. I won't do that. I'm doing this for your people to save Arrakis and all of that." Obviously, at the end, he goes back on his word, and we kind of get to see the beginning of a villain arc. So in this movie, it's very clear that the main conflict is going to be between him and her, and you also have obviously all the political dealings with people trying to enact coups against Paul. We see more scenes of Paul's war on the galaxy and just the carnage that he leaves in his wake. Some very chilling imagery, especially where the ones where you see a bunch of people strapped to giant metal X's in the dirt and just left there to die and rot. We see a few more scenes of his sister played by Anna Taylor Joy. Now that is going to be interesting because in the books, one Shawnee in the books is gun ho. I'm with Paul 100%. We're ride or die kind of thing. Whereas obviously in the movie that changed. So this is going to make this movie a lot more interesting, a lot more divergent from the books. But another big choice was in the books, Anna Taylor Joy's character is by the end of the first Dune book. But she can talk and speak like an adult person, which of course freaks everyone out except Paul and his mom, because the whole idea is that she has over 1,000 generations of memory is basically dumped into her from birth. So it's very unnerving. But she's also like very much like, I will literally kill anyone who tries to hurt my brother, kind of thing. And we're seeing a little bit of that craziness in the trailer. Like there's one part where she literally walks into a room covered in blood and just screams, and it's like, oh yeah, yep, that's the sister that I know from the books. So I'm interested in that. We get to see hints of Arrakis getting turned into the tropical paradise that Paul promised, where we see um some of the Fremen on like a beach and water's coming up to them and they're like, oh my gosh, this is water. We've been promised this for so long. So that's interesting. And of course, the whole idea is that Paul having to realize like, oh, I have become the thing that I tried to avoid. And oh man, I'm ready for this movie. And again, I just think, and we'll get into Doomsday a bit later, but I just think the hype around this movie is bigger than Doomsday. Now again, that'll probably change because San Diego Comic Con's next week. Marvel's going to have a big panel in Hall H. I guarantee you we're getting an Avengers Doomsday trailer next week. So we'll see what the hype is like when that's revealed. But like even earlier this week, Doomsday revealed some concept art ahead of a Comic Con that showed off the cast, and it was talked about for a minute, but not in the same way I feel that Dune Part 3 is. And again, the internet's not real life, so it's not the best barometer, but I just feel like Dune Part 3 is higher on everyone's radar than Doomsday right now. So, of course, we're still 5 months away, so that's still subject to change, but I really do think right now this movie could be everyone's kind of big movie to end the year over Doomsday. But I'm excited. I'm excited for both, but this is really got me hyped. I'm really excited to see how Denis Villeneuve wraps this all up and ends Paul's story. Obviously, there are I haven't read past the first book. In the first book, I've only read the graphic novel adaptations that are really good, by the way. They're art's beautiful, the writing's good, and from what I've heard, it's very true to the books. So I've enjoyed them and gotten that way. I'm planning to pre-order the one for Dune Messiah, um, which Dune Part 3 is based off of. But I can't wait. I am very hyped to see how this all ends, and especially not fully knowing how this story goes, and also just from the changes they made, especially with Chani's character, how that's going to factor into how this movie story plays out. But color me hyped. I can't wait. But moving on to some hype that got hurt this week, the Batman Part 2. The movie that just cannot seem to have a steady release date has been pushed back again, along with a little bit of camera test footage of Robert Pattinson in the Batman suit. It was previously going to be in theaters October 2027, and now it's been pushed to February 18th, 2028. Again, I've seen a few people make this comparison. It's very accurate. This is the movie version of GTA 6 of just we're literally going to get two Avengers movies before we get Batman Part 2. It's insane. Now, the reason for this delay, according to reports, is mostly due to some rescheduling that Warner Brothers is doing as a result of the merger with Paramount. Because of it's still being all finalized. and everything, WB has had to shift their dates around, and they're releasing a J.J. Abrams movie early October now, and they didn't want that to be cannibalized by Batman or vice versa. So I get the delay, and it's only 4 months, but man, it's just the thing that concerns me with this is just it means more delay for James Gunn's Batman. It means that now we literally will probably not get James Gunn's DCU Batman until 2029 at the earliest. And I also do think this means this is probably the last Robert Pattinson Batman movie we're going to get. Which I'm bummed because I love the Batman, but I also get it. It's just I'm all for art taking as long as it needs to be made, but at the same time, there comes a point where it's just like, guys, either you have a story or you don't. And now this, I know it was delayed somewhat. Robert Pattinson's schedule is very busy. He's been in, I mean, he's in the Odyssey. He's going to be in Dune Part 3. He's been in a few other movies this year already. So it's like the guy is really busy. So I get that that's part of it. But it also has been like, he's been like, I'm ready to go whenever Matt Reeves was ready. And I know, and it sounds like Matt Reeves had some health issues, which led to the delay of completing the script. So again, I get all that. It's just, I do feel like this is going to be the last one because James Gunn's going to have to be like, look, yeah, your movies are great, but I need to get my Batman off the ground now. I can't keep waiting until 2030 before I can put out my new Batman movie that's in my universe. So I really do think this is going to be the last one. And Matt Reeves may not have another Batman movie in him. He may want to go and do something else after this. And it's like, and if we get a duology of two really good, solid standalone Batman movies, as disappointed as I would be for this not to be the main Batman, I'd be okay if it's just like, hey, we got two really good movies that stand alone by themselves, along with a great spin-off show in Penguin. You can watch those three in succession, and they make one complete, really good story. You know, I'd be happy with that. But I do think this means that it's going to be the last one because, I mean, Robert Pattinson's already in his 40s. And again, James Gunn's going to be like, no, it's going to be my turn now. And obviously, he's going to be nicer about them the way I'm putting it, I'm sure. But it's just one of those things where you can't keep kicking that Batman can down the road for the DCU, especially after the struggles that Supergirl had, and you're introducing the DCU Gotham via Clayface of all things. So you can't keep teasing Batman and things and not eventually put him in. Especially again, if you're going to build up to a Justice League, Batman's going to be in it in some capacity, even if he ends up not being a main member. Eventually, he's going to be Batman or going to be in Justice League in some capacity. You need to have him cast and ready to go sooner rather than later. So we'll see. I'm still excited for this, but man, it's just I'm tired of this getting delayed, man. I just want to see it already. But moving on to another piece of DC news. Blue Beetle is set to return in the Superman sequel Man of Tomorrow. Now, it is the Blue Beetle from the Blue Beetle movie we got back in 2023. I have not seen it. It's the same actor, and apologies, I'm bad with names, but it's Zolo Maria Duna is set to reprise his role as Jaime Reyes slash Blue Beetle. I mean, I'm happy they're bringing him back. By all accounts, from what I've heard, he was a good Blue Beetle. I just haven't had a chance to see it. I was busy at the time when it came out, and just it's one of those where I just have a backlog, just crazy. That's crazy long. So it's not at the top of the list either. But I'm glad he's coming back. My only concern about this is that it does make this movie feel more and more crowded. Like, I know some people didn't like the Justice Gang being in Gunn's Superman. I thought it was fine. It's three extra heroes. You don't need a lot of explanation for them. And Mr. Terrific was the only one that had substantial screen time. Everyone else was kind of just in it for 10 minutes, if that. And, you know, Nathan Fillion got a few lines as Guy Gardner. It's like, yeah, that's Guy Gardner. We don't need any more deep backstory on him right now. Like, he's a jerk of a Green Lantern, but he comes through when you need him to. But here it's like, you know, we got I think Mr. Terrific's returning. You got John Stewart Green Lantern in here. Now you got Blue Beetle. You got Supergirl. It's just at some point, I think you need to make sure it still focuses on Superman. And again, I don't think that it'll be an issue of, oh, there's not going to be enough screen time for Superman and Supergirl. But I mean, why not save him for something else? Like do Blue Beetle and Booster Gold TV show on HBO. Like, why not do that? I just at this point I don't understand. Like, unless he's literally just going to be a cameo at the end, kind of a thing. Maybe that's what it's going to be. Like, again, I'm not hating on it. It's just it is getting concerning how many people are going to be in this movie, because I even think Nathan Fillion's going to be back. Like, it's a stacked cast, which I'm fine. But again, this is a Superman movie, not a Justice League movie, so I'm taking a wait and see approach on this. Again, it could be something where it's like, hey, he's going to be in it, and it's going to be like for one scene where like Brainiac is invading Earth, and we see different heroes reacting to his invasion. So it's like Jaime Reyes slash Blue Beetle will just be, fighting some, of the robots from Brainiac, and that's it. So we'll see. I'm excited. Also, Gorilla Grodd has been cast in the Jimmy Olsen uh TV show that's coming up. Let me see. I should have had this ready. Let me see. So the casting is Jimmy Tatro as Gorilla Grodd. Obviously, he's going to be motion capture most likely. I haven't seen this guy in anything, so I don't really have an opinion. But I was like, well, let me just add that to the docket as well. But yeah, I'm excited. Awesome. I trust their casting because they haven't missed so far, in my opinion. But we'll see. But that's all for the DC news. Now we got some Marvel news. So, obviously, Avengers Doomsday, like I said before, next week, probably getting a trailer for that. Comic Con's next week, which means the week after is probably going to be a very long podcast because I expect a lot of news to drop. There's rumors that they're going to reveal the new X-Men cast there as well. Um, and that's just Marvel. Who knows what other big tidbits we're going to find out. But Marvel's Avengers Doomsday has had its runtime revealed, and it's going to be 2 hours and 45 minutes, according to the Hollywood Reporter. And tickets are going on sale July 20th. I'm not surprised that it's that long. In fact, I'm kind of surprised that it's not longer, considering, again, just how much they're going to have to set up. It's like they're going to have to set up Doom. You got so many characters in this movie, some of which I'm sure are going to die. Um, but man, yeah, it's one of the longest Marvel movies of all time in the MCU, because Endgame's obviously the longest at about a little over 3 hours, and then Infinity War was 2 hours and 20 minutes. And I'm trying to think what other ones were longer. Spider-Man Brand New Day is going to be 2 hours and 20 minutes, I think, as well. But everything else was always around 2 hours and 10 minutes. So again, not surprised by the runtime. We also got some concept art that was released, which shows the Fantastic Four, some of the X-Men, like we see Cyclops, Gambit, Mystique, Beast, and Magneto and Professor X. We see the Thunderbolts slash New Avengers. We see Chris Evans, Steve Rogers, just in kind of plain clothes. We see Sam Wilson's Captain America, and then of course Chris Hemsworth's Thor. And for me, it's just as a reminder of like how stacked this movie is going to be in terms of people. We got at least 3 or 4 superhero teams plus Doctor Doom. We get a look at the Doom mask. It looks cool. It looks like Doctor Doom. I love it. But overall, it's just like, man, this is a crowded movie. Now, again, I do think some of the X-Men are probably going to die, so they're going to be more cameos than actual, like, characters. And then we also, oh, and also on the poster we got M'Baku and Shuri's Black Panther. So yeah, just again a lot of characters. Oh, and Shang-Chi. My gosh, it's just it's ridiculous. Now again, Infinity War Endgame had big casts, but again, the big thing there is you had all these characters established. You had the villain hinted at, and I just again, there's not enough groundwork here, in my opinion. Because again, we don't even know what Doctor Doom's motivation's going to be yet. Like with Infinity War, we knew Thanos was going after the Infinity Stones already. So it's like we were able to just open up that movie with like, oh, he's got two stones. Crap, it's already looking grim for our heroes. Whereas this one, it's like, all right, who's Doctor Doom? Like, if you're just a normie, you know Doctor Doom from the other Fantastic Four movies, and no offense to those movies, not the best depiction of Doctor Doom. The originals with Chris Evans and Ian Grufford and Jessica Alba and Michael Chiklis, that was closer to Doom a little bit, but still at the end of the day they made him a mustache twirling villain rather than the more complex villain that he is from the comics. So it's just, man, that runtime, that's gonna have to be a very fast paced movie, and so I'm hopeful. It's just again a reminder of this is a stacked cast, and I hope it's not too crowded. But moving on to our other piece of Marvel news, Marvel is developing a Nova movie with Loki and Doctor Strange 2 writer Michael Waldron set to direct and write it. Now, obviously, this is very much in production or early stage production. Apparently, there's not even a script yet. It's just kind of in very early stages of pre-production. And I'm obviously it's going to take place after Secret Wars and whatever the MCU looks like afterwards. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Nova, he's basically Marvel's version of Green Lantern, where they harness a powerful cosmic energy known as the Nova Force. We saw some of the Nova Corps in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. They're on the planet Xandar. Now we know in Infinity War that Xandar basically gets decimated so Thanos can get the Power Stone from them. So it's going to be interesting to see if that's kind of brought up here in the Nova movie, or if, again, it's going to be kind of like well, that happened in the other timeline. This is a new timeline kind of thing. But I mean, I'm excited, and I think this would be a cool way to kind of introduce the new version of the cosmic MCU. Instead of doing another Guardians, have Nova kind of be the eyes in character to the new version of the MCU cosmic side. I'd be interested in that. Make it like almost like a gunslinger in space kind of thing, where it's just lone Nova Corps member. Like think almost like the show Justified with Timothy Oliphant, where it's just like you have instead of a U.S. Marshal running around stopping crime, it's a Nova Corps member, Richard Rider, stopping crimes. And I mean, I'm down for this. I enjoyed Loki. I enjoyed Doctor Strange too, despite its faults. So I think this guy can write some good stuff. Now, and I'm not going to hold Doctor Strange 2 against him because it sounds like that was a troubled production where they were writing the script as they were shooting, so they didn't even know what ending they were going to have at that time. So if he can get time to make a proper script and get a proper story down, I think this could be really good. And I'd be totally for it as a way to reintroduce the cosmic side of Marvel. Because I know James Gunn had always said that he didn't want to do Nova because he wasn't the biggest fan of that character. And it's like, okay, hey, I'd rather you not do him than put him in your movie and basically just dump on him. And, be like, oh, look how goofy and dumb this character is. Like, no, have someone else who likes that character do it. So I'm fine with that. But we'll see. Again, I wonder if this will be mentioned next week at Comic-Con as kind of like oh, hey, by the way, or maybe the whole Blade announcement that they did back in 2019 has kind of scared them away from making announcements on stuff that isn't actually in development yet. So we'll see. Moving on to another Disney related property, George Lucas has come out and done the rounds and answered some questions and had some thoughts on some stuff. First off, he talked about AI and said, quote, artificial intelligence means it's much easier for us to make movies. It's very much like sitting here saying, well, I believe the horse and buggy is really where it's at. These cars, they break down, they need gas, there's all kinds of problems with them, and pretty soon they'll be making them into tanks, and then they'll be killing people. It's terrible. There's nothing you can do about it. That's progress, it's the future. I'm not totally surprised by this take by George Lucas. I know Christopher Nolan recently came out and was like, AI stinks. I don't want to have anything to do with it. Young people are rejecting it. It's good. I think movies should be made by people. And it's like, I agree. I don't think George Lucas is saying that AI should replace filmmaking or anything, but he's always been very. I mean, the guy founded ILM, one of the premier special effects companies in movie history. So it makes sense that he'd be very much about the technology and how that can push forward filmmaking and all of that. So I'm not surprised that George Lucas has this take on AI. That being said, as far as what AI's role should be in filmmaking, I just don't see where it could be because I don't want it replacing actors. I don't think it should replace writers. Visuals, it still looks. I mean, there's a reason why people go, "Oh, that looks like AI," because it has a very obvious look to it. And it's like, CG is similar, but again, you have someone creating something from nothing rather than just looking through everything that's ever been created and just combining it into amalgam of mush. So I don't see where AI could be used right now. That's in filmmaking. That's the only thing. Unless again you want to take away the creative element. Like AI doesn't create, it just borrows and creates amalgams. So I just don't know what function it would have. It's not like in video games where I'm like, oh yeah, if you're using AI to just kind of write out your code, like you give it the base code and be like, all right, I need you to just repeat this code for 10,000 lines. Like, yeah, go ahead, have AI do that. There's no difference to me than like a macro on an Excel document. But to have it actually create stuff, I think is just foolhardy and not really a viable option right now, in my opinion. I don't know if it ever will be. I think again, with how creative of a field movies are, anything that takes away from that creative vision hurts the final product. And I don't know. It's easy to say, oh, it's just a new technology. Let's use it. It's like, well, but how? Like, how is it implemented in a way that enhances the experience? I don't know if that'll ever happen in movies. But another thing he talked about was fans and Hollywood focusing on focus groups and all that. He said, quote, I don't like focus groups. The audience doesn't know what they want to see. If they don't like a character, that's interesting, and as a filmmaker, I want to find out why. But when the studios hear that, they take the wrong message. They let the audience make the movie. Of course, now they go crazy with that. Now it's all about what the fans think. Isn't how you make the movie. You make a movie by finding someone that knows how to make movies, that has a story to tell, and is passionate about it. And I mean, I get that. I mean, this is the guy that made Jar Jar Binks in the prequels and got a lot of flack for it by fans. And I do think there's some truth to that. Like, there's definitely a balance. It's okay. Yes, the fans, you want the fans to enjoy your work, but I mean, there's a reason you're the creative and they're the fans. Like, I I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that I can invent Star Wars the way George Lucas did it. I can't do that. That's what makes him unique is that he's the only one that can do it. And there's guys that I'm just like Christopher Nolan. I know he's getting a lot of flack for the Odyssey, and I'm not gonna go into all that garbage, but I'm like, I trust Christopher Nolan. He's the creative. He's has a proven track record. I'm gonna wait and react. And also, because art is so subjective, what one fan says, oh, this is amazing, another fan could say, well, I think it's crap. So you run to that problem of if you're constantly trying to appease everybody, you appease no one. And so I do think there is value in just being like, nope, I trust my instincts, I trust for my creative vision, and I trust that it will find an audience. And we've seen, and there's been both positive and negative stories of studios listening to fans. Like, obviously, there's the famous Sonic fiasco where they released that first trailer and showed us that abomination they called Sonic. The fans were like, no, this is ugly, horrifying, fix it. And they did, and now he looks like Sonic from the games. So it's like there's a case of like, hey, yeah, that's good you listen to the fans. Like, obviously, if you want to make something, make the thing. Um, but then you have also other examples of like the Snyder Cut, where it's like you did that, and now the fans will not stop every time there's a new DC anything of just hashtag restore the Snyderverse. And it's like, guys, you got what you wanted and you wanted more. It's like, so there's a point where it's like, okay, you can't feed the machine and you can't make a movie by committee. You have to eventually have a singular vision, trust that vision and see it through. And then once it's out there, it's like, all right, it's out into the world. I've done everything I can to make the best movie that I can make. I hope the fans like it. And so I do think there is a point where see, we've all seen those movies where it clearly feels like, all right, we had to check this box, this box, this box. Like, you know, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is a great example where Andrew Garfield talks about how there were literally people on set from the studio being like, hey, we need to put this in here to reach this demographic. It's like, no, the things that have popped off and have really gotten a lot of big fans are the things that were created with passion and a great creative vision, not things that were like, oh, well, I need this type of fan to like this and this type of fan to like this. And again, especially with something as broad as like Star Wars or Marvel or DC, there are just such a wide range of characters and types of stories that you can tell that you can't try to appease everyone. Like, you can't make a Batman movie that everyone's going to like. That's just going to be impossible. There are certain people that like one type of Batman and another type of Batman. And it's like, obviously, you want to go for the one that most people like and that resonates the most with that character. But at the same time, again, you cannot be trying to check every box. That's just going to drive you nuts. It's not going to make a good movie in the end. So I get what he's saying. It's like you have to find that balance. So I think it's interesting what George Lucas is doing now, and I appreciate that he still seems to be keeping up with the movie industry, even though he seems to have no interest on wanting to do it. Uh, and again, I don't think these are the hot takes that maybe some people tried to make them, like some outlets. It's very much like, yeah, I can see why George Lucas would be interested in AI. He's very much in the technical side and special effects side of things. I mean, there's a reason the prequels have so much CG is because he was like, oh, this is a new tool for filmmakers. I'm going to use it as much as I can. And sometimes that worked and sometimes that didn't. It's like AI, again, I don't see what the benefits of it of its usage in movies is, but I could see why he'd be excited by it. Um, but continuing with Disney, they had to experience a bit of a disappointment at the box office this weekend as Disney's live action Moana made only $95 million globally at its opening weekend. That puts it just ahead of the Snow White live action remake, which made 87.3 million in its opening weekend. And I mean, this is not surprising, and I believe the budget for this movie is around 200 million. I mean, it's special effects heavy, so it's going to definitely lean towards the more expensive side of things. But I mean, to me, this just shows that I don't think there's the hunger for these live action remakes the way Disney thinks they are. And it really, I think people just saw this for the cash grab that it was, where it was just like the movie is only 10 years old. There's not enough time for it even to be nostalgia. from all accounts that I've heard, it literally is just shot for shot, beat for beat, the animated movie. And so it's like, well, I'd rather just put in my Blu-ray of the animated movie and be done with it. Like I don't need to see it in live action. And I wonder how much of it was just The Rock being like, no, I need another franchise because he really hasn't had a franchise hit in a while now. Uh, but I hope this means that Disney will take another look at these live action remakes. There's supposed to be a Tangled one that's coming out, I think next year. I'm pretty sure, or 2028. It's coming out soon, but like the Lilo and Stitch one, the reason that did well is because that is more of a, I guess, cult classic is the way to put it. Like it wasn't a big hit when it came out, but a lot of millennials like myself grew up on that movie, so there was nostalgia to go see that in live action. And of course, it's like, well, you're bringing back the original voice actor for Stitch, so you get to do that. There's a lot of visual cues from that movie that people liked. So there is merit for that, and I do think, and I wrote this about this in a article for my Substack of when this movie's trailer came out, of just like, I think the reason that some of these movies do well is, again, nostalgia, and there's a hunger for more family oriented movies. You don't get a lot of those. You get the few animated ones a year, and that's really it. So I can see why some of these do well. Like, from all accounts I've heard, the reason people took this are like, well, my kid wanted to see it, so I took them. Like, that's really the only people that are finding this. And if you don't have that added nostalgia factor for people who don't have kids, but are like, oh man, I grew up with this movie as a kid. Let's go see what they do with this movie and what changes they make and what they add on to it. And it's like, if you don't even go far as to do that, it really just feels like a lazy cash grab. And a lot of the time, the changes that they make are just for the sake of differentiating it from the animated movie, almost to like have a reason to justify for making it at all, so it doesn't look like such a blatant cash grab. But I do hope that this kind of makes Disney pause and go, what original stuff can we do that's live action? Like, what's another Pirates of the Caribbean that we can make? And studios really need, I think, to start being willing to take chances. Like, we're seeing a lot of the big movies this year so far are movies that aren't pre-established IP. Project Hail Mary, Obsession, Backrooms. Um, like, there's not a lot of franchises that are doing well right now, and I think that's because people are like, I want to see something new. And if and the franchises do feel too safe, do feel made by too much made by committee, and they're wanting something more, which I think is completely fair. So it'll be interesting to see if that Tangled movie ends up coming out after all. I think it will, just because of how far into production it is. And at least with that one, there is a little bit more nostalgia for it because it's an older movie. It didn't just come out 10 years ago. Like, they literally had a Moana sequel, like, I think last year or 2 years ago. So it's like, it's not that old of a property. Like, with Tangled, we got the one movie and some animated spin-offs, and that's it. And that movie, I think, came out in, like, man, I want to say like 2010, I think. It was when Tangled came out, so it's like, it's an older movie, so at least, again, you have some nostalgia to play off of there. But we'll see, we'll see. But on to our last piece of news. That's a sad one, but I knew I had to include it. Sam Neill, iconic actor who played Dr. Alan Grant in the Jurassic Park franchise, who was in Hunt for the Red October, Event Horizon, Peaky Blinders, passed away on Monday at the age of 78. Uh, we don't know what the cause was. We know that he had just beaten cancer a few months ago. I talked about that on this podcast, and it was like awesome. He seemed like a really nice guy, very humble. He was a great actor. I can't think of any bad performance that he has given, and it really stinks that he had to go so soon. It felt like he had a lot more years left in him, of what he could do. So, our RIP Sam Neill, you'll be missed. but you leave behind a legacy of really good performances that have connected with literally generations. My kids have seen bits and parts of the first Jurassic Park movie, so they are very familiar with Dr. Alan Grant. And I mean, I've seen countless stories come out of people being like, I got into, the study of dinosaurs, because of Sam Neill and Dr. Alan Grant. And it's like, that's awesome. But again, he just seemed like a really just humble and stand up guy. So it sucks that we lost him so soon. So R.I.P. Sam Neill. Well, I don't know how to transition to this next part of the podcast in any good way, so I'll just do it. It's time for paid subscriber questions. And as always, like I said before, if you want to upgrade your subscription so you can submit your own questions, just head on over to Substack, and you'll have an easy process to walk that the website will walk you through to do that. And thank you so much for everyone who is a paid member. I can't thank you enough. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. But this first part is a multi-part question, so I'll go through it and answer it a bit at a time. I have a question about your actual viewing process because your reviews are always so incredibly detailed. Thank you. I try. Whenever I watch a movie, I just sit back and try to enjoy it. But by the time the credits roll, half the minor details and specific lines of dialogue have already faded from my memory. For you to give such thorough reviews after just one viewing, I have to know, what is your secret? Are you down there in the dark taking frantic notes on a notepad like an old school journalist, or do you just have a photographic memory? Um, I don't take notes during movies. I have I actually have a Google Doc that I have just a template that I made saved where it's just all right, name of the movie I'm reviewing, under it verdict, or what I would think would be if I had to describe my experience with this movie in one sentence, what would it be? And then I have three sections. I have positives, negatives, and then spoilers. So what I do is I'll just watch a movie, watch, you know, let it just wash over me, kind of take mental notes as I go, and then as soon as the movie's over, if I get out of the theater, within the next day, throughout the next day, I'm just writing notes of like, okay, this is what I liked, this is what I didn't like, here's what worked, here's what didn't, and just kind of here are my initial thoughts on the movie, positive, negatives. Here are the spoilers I want to talk about if I'm going to have spoilers. That's how I do it. But I am one of those people that I don't know what it is. I can't remember people's names sometimes, but man, I can remember movie quotes verbatim. I can remember scenes from movies verbatim, shots and stuff. I don't know what it is. If it's just that I'm a very visual person, so I think that's part of it. But yeah, it's just stuff like that for some reason just sticks in here. And I mean, it's a blessing because it helps me with my job, this. So, but that's how I usually do it, is just if I think it's worth putting on that cheat sheet, I'm going to mention it in my review because I do want to give detailed reviews because obviously, again, it sounds like you enjoy them and I'm glad that you do. But it's like I want to give more reasons beyond just I thought it was good, I thought it was bad. Like if you wanted a review like that, I could just put it out in a tweet or Facebook post. But like no, let me tell you why like these people gave good performances. I thought this story was well told or this didn't work well for me. Like I've talked about this before, but I think we've lost a lot of nuance in our culture, and especially thanks to the internet. So everything is either the worst thing ever, the best thing ever, and it's like, well, no. Like, great example, Supergirl. Like that movie is not a great movie. It's not a horrible movie. It's perfectly fine. There are some things I enjoyed about it. There are some things that I didn't, and I was able to list those reasons off in my review. And it's like I want to be able to tell you, like, here's my honest opinion, especially because I come from the standpoint, at least with reviews, for movies that are in the theater. I try to come at it from the perspective of I'm telling you whether or not this is worth your time and money. So I want to give you good reasons as to why I think it's good enough to see, or why I think it's better for you to just wait until streaming. and I want to give you those reasons so that way, obviously, make your own decisions based on what I give you. You know, I'm not saying my word is gospel or anything like that, but I try to approach it from I'm telling you whether or not your money's worth putting on the line to go see this in theaters and everything like that. So that's where I come from. But the second part, and honestly, how do you actually find the room to enjoy the movie when a part of your brain is constantly forced to work and memorize everything you're seeing? So I I find that I'm able to actually I don't know what it is, but most of the time I don't actually consciously find myself doing it. It's just kind of part of the experience for me now of just it doesn't take me out of the movie. Like obviously if I'm watching like a movie at home that I've seen a billion times, like Star Wars or something, like every once in a while I might have a brain or a thought that's just like, oh hey, that man, that's really cool the way they pulled that off. Because you know, especially if I've seen something like Star Wars or Aliens, where it's just I know the behind the scenes back and forth. Like I could tell you each and every shot, how they got that, what they did, how it was done, all that. You know, the story behind the story kind of thing. You know, my brain might every once in a while be like, oh yeah, that's cool how they pulled that off. But if it's something I've seen a bunch, it's like my that part of my brain doesn't work as much. But if it's even something new, like I'll talk about this later, but like I watched the Weekend movies with my wife this past week, and I found myself analyzing it as I go. But for me, it just kind of enhances the experience for me because it's just kind of like how I've wired my brain to be of just like, oh, I'm enjoying this. Well, why am I enjoying this? Like, what's working and what's not? Or like, you know, the worst sign of a movie for me is whenever I find myself going, oh, that's a choice. Like, if I'm having that conscious thought during a movie, that brings up red flags immediately of just like, oh, that is definitely an issue if I'm immediately like, ooh, that was a way to do that, or I'm not liking this. So for me, it's still fun to enjoy the movie, and part of the fun for me is analyzing it. That's why I enjoy doing this so much, is because I just have so much fun, like being like, what made this story work and what make it, especially for someone who is trying to write his own fiction stories, who's has written his own fiction stories. Hopefully, publishing one. I believe I'm publishing one in the next few months, so stay tuned for that. But uh, you know, it's cool to see. Well, okay, this person tried this story. Why didn't it work? Why did it work? So uh, for me, I find that I'm able to enjoy the movie. And of course, there's some movies like, you know, Michael Bay's Transformers movies where I'm going in, I'm like, I know these are garbage. I know on a storytelling level, they are not great, but I find that I'm able with those movies. If I know going in, like, okay, this is one of those literally turn your brain off and just enjoy it kind of movies. I find that I'm able to do that for the most part. And again, especially if it's on something that I like a Marvel or DC movie, where it's like, you know, I want it to, because I approach it from, I want movies to be good. I don't want, you know, it to be a stinker. So I always try to go at it from an optimistic perspective of like, please make me like you kind of a thing. I don't want to be like, oh, this thing stinks. I hate it. Like I'm not one of those people. That just sounds like a miserable way to live. But thank you for that question. I really enjoyed thinking about my process and being able to share it with you. The other question we have for today is, what is the best foreign film you saw that wasn't in English? British and Australian movies don't count. Darn. Uh, no, this one I actually have an interesting answer. So, obviously, from my last name, as you can tell, it is a European name. It's Hungarian, and my dad, who is the Hungarian side of our family, showed us some Hungarian-based films that you know the actors and everything spoke Hungarian. The title was in Hungarian, and he was able to translate for us that we watched them. This film I picked is from I believe 1943, and roughly it translates to the Lucky Guys. And I really enjoyed this one. I have fond memories of it because it's a rom com basically, and the whole premise is you have this you know, beautiful young woman living in a big house by herself, has a butler that just kind of does his thing, but doesn't really interact with her on a friend or any other level. And these two burglars break in to steal stuff, and she's been bored and out of her mind, and so this woman decides, all right, I'm gonna mess with these guys. I'm gonna let them do their thing and see how far they can get. Basically, just have some fun with them. And the butler in the meanwhile gets so annoyed by waking up that he dresses himself up as a ghost, like literally puts a sheet over his eyes with the two eye holes and chases them around a little bit. And of course, as a kid, I thought that was hilarious. It was like, oh, this is a Scooby Doo episode. But the whole idea is eventually that one of the burglars and the woman kind of start to have a little bit of a romance, and by the end of it, they escape, of course, but the burglar breaks back into the house to meet up with the woman and start relationships. At least that's implied by the end. And so, it's just it was a fun little flick, and just it's a core memory of my childhood. I reached out to my dad. In fact, I know he's listening, so thank you, Dad, for showing us those movies. Uh, but I asked him, I was like, I can't remember the name of that movie. What was it? Because I can't remember how it's spelled in Hungarian, so I was like, I don't know what to look up. But yeah, that's probably my best foreign film. I don't watch a lot of foreign films. It's just, I just not the time. I have very limited time to watch stuff as is, so it's like I got to keep up with the current stuff for the Substack. But though that was probably the best one I saw, was just that film, Hungarian film, The Lucky Guys. I don't know if it's available on any streaming. It might even be available on YouTube. I don't know. But that one was a lot of fun, and something that I just remember from my childhood, and it has stuck with me. But that's all the questions we had for today. Thank you again for the questions. I really appreciate them. You guys always bring great ones. I never have I never have an easy question, and that's a good thing. So I'm thankful for that. But before I get out here, what I'm watching, like I said, I watched the two Wicked movies with my wife. I thought they were good. I thought the first one, like I said last week, I thought that was a little long. But overall pretty good. The singing and dancing and the sets look great. The visuals and everything are fantastic. There's a lot of talent in the film. The second one, I thought the concept of it being like a reimagining of the Wizard of Oz story and told from like everyone's perspective but Dorothy. Like we literally don't even see Dorothy's face in it. I thought was interesting. I thought my problem was is that it could have used a few more scenes. I thought that there was a lot of stuff that got developed too quickly, and there wasn't enough foundation to really build out, and it felt more like a speed run. So ironically, I feel like you could have taken 20 minutes from the first movie and put it in the second movie. Just because, like, we literally have 1 minute where the Wicked Witch is like singing about, like, all right, I'm gonna be the bad guy, and then literally like 2 scenes later, she's like, I'm a good guy again. I'm friends with you, Glinda. I love you. Like, we're best friends. And so it's like, well, let me actually see the Wicked Witch enact her Wicked Witch-idness. I don't know, that's not a word. Before we move into her back being a good guy. But overall, I thought that was fun. Also watched X-Men 97, the newest episode, which is basically just Wolverine in the movie Aliens. It was a lot of fun. They literally have someone say game over. That's all I'm going to say. It's pretty violent for kids. This is not a cartoon for kids, FYI, but I really enjoyed it. Again, I want to see Marvel do more of this, but that's all I had. If you're on the Substack, check out my most current article that I just put up. It's all about why I'm happy that Scary Movie 2026 is a success and why I think we need more comedies in the theater. Check that out if you haven't. Obviously, I'm going to see The Odyssey this weekend, so I'll have a review of that next week. Probably won't do a spoiler-filled review just because there's really nothing to spoil. It's The Odyssey. So, it's a 3,000-year-old story. There's not really much you can spoil there. So, I'm going to just say it's still going to be relatively spoiler free, I guess. Like, I'm not going to go, beat for beat in my review, but be sure to check that out when it comes out next Wednesday. As always, thank you so much for listening. Sorry this one was a long one, but I think just with the amount of news we're getting, these next couple weeks. I think these might go a little long, so I hope you still enjoy listening to my voice after almost an hour. But I will be back next week with more news. Thank you so much. Bye.